Welcome to another episode of the Driftr podcast with your co-hosts Brian Fontenot,
Brandon Boone,
and Kiera Sandoval.
Man, it's been a week since we last talked to y'all, and we miss you so much. We hope that you enjoyed our last week's session. We talked about how you disconnect during travel. We talked about Credit Bootcamp 101. We took you to the beautiful, beautiful city and country of Barcelona, Spain. And we made sure that you're going to get all of your glitch feeds and glitch deals and don't get them canceled.
So what are we talking about today, Brian?
What we talking about? What we talking about, Brandon?
I don't know.
I don't know. Let's see. Let's see.
So the question of the day: how much do you tip?
What is a tip?
Right. Hey, you might want to skip me because I don't tip. Shut
Hold up.
No, I'm just playing.
Brandon? Oh, do not go out to dinner with Brandon.
Look, he said as long as I paid the bill, that's just like good enough.
Exactly.
You sound like my auntie. I don't tip. What they need a tip for? I was like, because that's the only money they make. She was like, oh, okay. No, sir. You got a tip.
Nah, I tip a little bit. Kiara, what do you tip?
So, because I used to be a waitress and a bartender back in the day, I tip
I know this
20%. I tip 20% all the time. And if you give me bad service, which normally doesn't happen too often, that I'll give you 15. But I always tip 20% because I know how it is when people of color come into a restaurant and people don't want to serve them because of what they look like just automatically. So I always want to encourage good tipping and tip people for what they do.
That's real.
Man, you just kind of get me with the tears over here. Like, I don't know if y'all can see me in the studio, but I'm trying not to cry. Because it's so serious.
You need a Kleenex?
Man, I need a handkerchief. Get me a whole, like a towel, napkins, towels, whatever you got. Shoot, beach towel, it don't matter. No. Nah, like, a lot of people talk about that, though. Like, being a waiter, you think of what low wages people get. And so when you go places, you want to tip. Even domestically, you want to tip. But I think out the country, for me, it depends out the country, like what type of, laws. There's certain places where you're not supposed to tip. And so I try to do my research before I get to another country to understand, like, if tipping is part of their culture. Because sometimes they include it in the actual fees for the meal, or sometimes you just need to know you need to tip. Or sometimes you slide them the cash, be like, yo, you know that the game that was on BET? And they had Tasha Mack, and she's like, I tip on the tip. That's me.
Oh, yeah.
So I know in Europe, I think it's like standard to do like 10%. And that's even being like generous. So, I mean, if I'm going to Europe, hey, look, my euro's already losing to my dollar slightly. So I don't have a problem giving you 10% at all. So
Kiera said she ain't got nothing to lose.
Not at all. I'm trying to remember in Tokyo, I don't think you have to tip in Tokyo. Let me check really quickly.
Man, it was somewhere I went recently when it was not customary to tip. I was going to say somewhere in South America. I don't know if it was Chile when I went to Chile. I think it was even before that. It was like a trip before that. Somewhere I went and it was not customary. You did not tip people. And I tried to tip somebody and they just like gave me the money back. And I was like, yo, I'm trying to do my good deed for the day. So.
Yeah, so I'm reading here in Japan, tipping is not customary. So you don't have to worry about tipping there. So, yes.
I always try to check it with like the locals when I get there. If I don't do my research beforehand, I just ask like a local and see what the custom is there, because you don't want to look stupid.
You definitely don't.
I mean, if you go somewhere like Ghana, they're going to ask for a tip for everything. Even if you look at them, they want a tip. You look at me, I'll give me my tip.
Right.
You look at their clothes, you look at their watch, I want my tip. They open the door, they want a tip. They grab your bag without asking you, they want a tip. So it just definitely depends on the country.
Or you can just go to Cuba where they include your tip, and then they try to get you to tip on the tip. And afterwards, they'd be like, yo, give me $5 on top of that tip. Like, yo, you've already swindled me 3 times.
They gotta eat. They gotta eat, bro.
That's definitely how they are in Cuba. They open the door, they want a tip. They bring you a towel, they want a tip. They bring you one piece of ice. That's the only piece of ice they have left in the restaurant. They want a tip. Good. So, but they do make sure to include the tip in the receipts, in Cuba. So you definitely see it that the tip is included.
If you look, though, some people don't look.
Oh no, I look at my
Yes.
receipt.
Nah, some people just pay like Big Money Brian over here.
What? Rolling them CUCs
Right.
all over the place.
Nah, I definitely look at that receipt because I was trying to sit there and ration out my money. Be like, yo, I'm not gonna make it home. I'm gonna live and become a Cuban, man.
You know,
Cuban
it's
sandwich
almost
every
stuck.
day, drinking Cuban Libres every day. Won't know what this world called Wi-Fi is.
That was almost our life.
Almost, almost.
So Brian, what do you normally do when you're tipping? You
Pull
just
out
kind
that-
of follow what the customary rules are?
Yeah, pull out that good old calculator and start saying, look, what's 10% of this, or what's 20%. But if I get good service, I just want to tip. And then you already feel like you're balling anyways when some of these exchange rates.
Yeah.
So you just throw a whole bunch. You just throw some cash on it.
Gotcha.
So basically, do your research.
Do your
Right.
research.
Or ask locals when you get there. You don't want the side eye.
And
Yeah,
tip on
definitely.
the
I
tip.
look up the currency and then I look up what the tipping etiquette is there. Because you don't, like in Japan, you could like really offend someone and then they be cussing you out in Japanese.
Right.
And you have no idea what they're saying. So yeah, Japan has a lot of strict rules. So you definitely got to like read up on what the etiquette is.
Or you just tip on the tip. Show that you a boss. Tip on the tip. Tip for tips.
They don't want your extra 1 yen. What they gonna do with that?
They're gonna pay. They're gonna feed their family.
1 whole yen for you.
All right, so here comes one of our favorite sections of the podcast show where we talk about cards and points. Brandon and I today are going to cover for you Points 101. What is the difference between transferable points and redeemable points? Well, I see these questions so much in Driftr. Like people are like, hey, I got X card, so what does that mean? And sometimes you have to be like, well, it means nothing for you because that card will not do what you wanted it to do.
Right.
So we really wanted to break it down for you on a one-on-one basis so that you can really understand at a basic level what type of cards you're getting into. So I'm going to let Brandon go ahead and hit things off.
So first you have redeemable points. These pretty much fixed value points and can only be used with that certain branded card or bank that you have. Most of the times you can use as cashback or you can only use to that specific portal. And then you have transferable points, which is mostly considered most valuable and more flexible, where you can transfer to certain travel partners of that branded cards. For instance, if you have like the Chase Sapphire, that card you can transfer points to like 12 different travel partners. And then you might have like the Chase Freedom where you can't transfer to their travel partners. All you can do is use it as cashback or use it through the portal. So you need to know the difference between redeemable points and transferable points when you go for that credit card. You need to know what you're getting beforehand so you know how to use the. Brian, you have a few more examples on the difference between redeemable points and transferable points?
Yeah, so I'll give you a great example that I see the most common times. Barclays, Capital One, Venture Card, and there's one other card that a lot of people use.
Southwest card.
Southwest is transferable, though.
It is?
Uh-huh. Well, it was Southwest points. So
Okay.
when I'm thinking of redeemable cards are like the Capital One Venture Card. The Capital One
Gotcha.
Venture Card, you're spending all that money and you're getting quote-unquote points, but the points don't transfer to airlines. They only are redeemable for statement charges. So a lot of people are getting that card and like, I love my travel and points card. It's like, okay, understanding that you have to accrue certain types of purchases to even redeem them, that's redeemable or redeemable points. Then you have the transferable card points, where I think of like 3 main credit card companies, Amex, Citi, and Chase. You'll have like Amex, Amex Platinum card, Amex Gold card, Amex Everyday card. On the business version, you have the Business Platinum, the Business Gold, the Amex Blue Business Preferred. They just launched a brand new card that I'm dying to get my hands on. On Chase, you can think about the Chase Ink when it comes to business. You can think about the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Preferred, even the Freedom. The Freedom, it kind of teeters between the two for a different reason. Citibank, the Thank You Preferred or Thank You Prestige, Thank You Premier. All those cards that I just mentioned, when you accrue points, not only can you redeem them for statement credits, but you can also transfer them to airlines. So you can take those points and transfer them to another airlines. And then you have your co-branded cards like your Southwest cards with Chase, or you have your Delta cards with Amex, or you have your American Airlines cards with Citi, or you have your United cards with Chase Bank. Those cards still would be considered transferable points because they transfer just to one airlines. And then you have your co-branded hotel cards, your Marriott hotels with Chase. You have the Starwood card with American Express. You have the Ritz-Carlton card with Chase. You have a Hyatt card with Chase. All those cards are still considered transferable because you can transfer them directly to a hotel. So when people talk about strategy and credit cards, some people are okay with having just a redeemable credit card. Like I know friends that travel the world using only the Capital One Venture card. They just take whatever they get and they expend it.
Right.
And whereas I am all big for cards that have transferable currencies. I want my cards to transfer somewhere because I get the most value now actually redeeming from Amex, or I can get value transferring points other places. But my game is definitely focused on transferable miles, transferable points.
And pretty much same here. I'm big on transferable points. But recently, though, for my honeymoon, I did use redeemable points. I got the Barclay Arrival Plus, and those 50,000 points can be used as $500 credit. It was so clutch. So, again, it just depends on your travel goals. And as long as you understand what you're getting beforehand, how you're going to use it, it'll still pay off.
What you working with?
So would you suggest for people to kind of like strategize, on what they're trying to do? Like what's the ultimate goal? Because if you're only flying to like Southwest cities, and maybe a Southwest card may work for you, or, if you don't really use a lot of hotels, like I prefer Airbnb, then maybe a hotel branded card might not be, the best route for you, whatever. So how would you go about telling people to kind of like strategize on what they want to do? Like, can you give them kind of like a brief blueprint of what to think about?
Again, we kind of covered it last week, but you want to know your travel plans. Like, for instance, okay, I'm only doing domestic travel this year. I'm going to try to go to Miami, Chicago, LA, whatever.
I'm going with you to Miami, just FYI.
So you need to focus on what cards can get you there. So, like, the Southwest card would be good for that. You can use a whole bunch of Southwest points to get to those cities. But if you're trying to go to, Africa or South America or Europe, Southwest not going to be good for you.
Right.
So you just need to, I really would advise you just to write your travel goals down, actually see it, and then do your research on what cards can get you there.
And the reason why I'm asking is because I've had several people just kind of ask me, like, where do I start? Like, what do I do? And like, I've told them the same thing. Just start with what your travel goals are. I mean, but you have to pick places where you want to go. And it's okay to start with just domestic cities. Like, if you've never been to Chicago, I would highly suggest Chicago in the summertime, or go to Phoenix, or go to Vegas, or go to San Fran. I mean, there's so many wonderful cities in the United States. So, how did you end up hearing about the Barclays card? Because I was actually thinking about getting that myself.
Oh man, that Barclays card is super clutch. I came across it doing research. Really, I really used it for my hotels, and that came a big part. So I didn't want to use all my Chase points, basically. So I came across the Barclays card, and you can use cashback towards travel purchases. So that was pretty big. And then
they gave you like the statement credit, right, for that?
Right. So I got it, and my fiance got it. So basically, we had $1,000 of free money, basically. So
y'all fancy,
right?
So what is your opinions on the Capital One Venture card? Because I know a lot of people, let's say between the ages of like 23 to 25, 26, like they are in love with the Venture card. It's just not something that appeals to me, just because I just feel like I'm just limited with options, kind of, sort of.
Basically, it's the same as Barclays. You can use it as cashback. I mean, that's the only reason I'm using it. I'll probably gonna cancel it, before the annual fee.
I have a
Capital One. And the annual fee is how much for the Barclays?
$89.
Oh, they have an annual fee?
89.
I thought it was free.
It's not waived the first year?
It's waived the first year.
Oh,
Oh, okay. So
I
that
think
is
so.
okay. Yeah.
okay. Gotcha.
I
Okay.
mean, it just depends on your strategy, honestly. I didn't really understand that about credit cards maybe about 2 years ago, because American Express has a card. They have called a Blue Sky, and I ended up applying for Blue Cash and a couple other cards all at one time. I was doing an Apparama where I apply to one credit card issuer but multiple cards, so I only take one inquiry hit on my credit report. But makes me I can get 4 new accounts all at the same time. So I only know they're going to approve me for 4. I didn't know it at the time, but they're only going to approve me for 4 cards in one day. Well, I got approved for 3 and I didn't get approved for the 4th one. And actually looking back, I'm glad they didn't approve me for it, because then I would have been mad that I got the card because I didn't really understand how the points worked. So it just depends. Like with my American Express card, for instance, my transferable points, I could transfer my Amex points to Airbnb and not have to pay for Airbnb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, since when?
What?
Your face
You
like,
know I am all about Airbnb. Please tell me more.
Yeah. So
Wait, for the
that's-
Amex Platinum, personal or business?
business too. Any of that. So when I look at transferable cards, I look at their partners. The
Right.
City Prestige card only appealed to me because if you stay in a hotel for 4 nights, they give you the 4th night for free. But none of their transfer partners really appealed to me, except for JetBlue, and when I figured out how clutch JetBlue actually is. But when I looked at transferable partners now, that's what I look at when as far as transferring. I started flying major Delta because I had so many Amex points, and Delta was a transfer partner. I can also transfer my points from American Express to JetBlue. I can transfer them to SPG, but it's a horrible redemption. I can transfer them to Airbnb. I can transfer them to Amazon. I can transfer them to Uber and don't have to pay for my Ubers, just all using American Express points. So when you look at a transferable card, everybody hops on the Chase Sapphire, and it's a great card. Don't get me wrong, preferred and reserve. But you can't sleep on the transfer partners that some of these other companies have. City is good for a lot of international airlines. They have amazing transfer partners from international airlines. Whereas, like for Chase, I may do Southwest occasionally. I'm definitely boycotting United as much as possible. So United's off my list. Outside of that, unless I'm doing like Chris, Singapore Airlines, or if I'm doing like Air Japan or something, that's all the partners I saw in Chase. So I maximize what I get out of Amex. Plus, I also get the, until a limited time, 50% back of points if I designate an airline, a certain airline, and plus I get first class and business class flights for 50% of my points back. So for American Express, I've actually got expanded access to other airlines. So it's just looking at transferable cards, you got to look at really the partners, because the partners can dictate how you can use a card. And so you might find different strategies depending on what partners you have. So like my Chase points are basically, it's like a reserve. I don't use them. My Starwood points, Starwood transfers to 23 different airlines. Like I could transfer points from Starwood if I don't have enough points to top off my account if I want to take a flight. I don't use my Starwood points for pretty much anything. I just keep them as they're my most valuable currency. So I like to keep them as a stash.
So how do you redeem the Airbnb points? You have to go in American Express and transfer them to Airbnb? Because I just went in there recently. I didn't see them.
Yeah. Well, it depends on also what kind of cards you have too. So you got to have the American Express card that covers American Express card that's not like the Delta Platinum, but like the actual Platinum, actual Gold or something like that. And then you just set up your transfer partners. So you can set
I'm
up.
about to log in right now.
Mind blown.
She's not playing.
No, the reason why I'm saying that is because I just went in there, I didn't see it, and one afternoon I went into American Express and sat there and like linked all of my airlines with American Express. So the day comes when I need to transfer points, it's done. I don't have to wait for it to sync, and I didn't see it. So I mean, I'm all about some Airbnb. So if I ever need some points, I want to make sure I have it available.
Right. And so that's the thing that you just kind of look at just to see. Man, I've used a lot of points the last month.
You don't say.
Yeah, I've been on points going, they owe me a whole bunch of points. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I mean, looking always when you're looking at cards, look at transfer partners. That's the thing I can say the most, and that really kind of dictates what kind of cards you fly. Like Brennan said, and like we say, we're gonna say every time, you just got to make a. You just have to make a plan about who you want to transfer and all that kind of stuff too. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to look up American Express right now.
So that pretty much includes redeemable points and transfer points. And of course, if you have more questions, you can feel free to hit us up. Driftertravels.com. Facebook us, Instagram us. We're here for you. So if you have any questions, just let us know.
Yeah, we want to make sure you get all your points. You get your points, get your miles, get your flights.
Like, book it.
All right, y'all. So we
Time out. So you mad?
No, I keep locking myself out of my American Express account, and I don't know why. Like,
you need to
I
use
hate
it
when
well.
I do that.
this is like the 4th time I've done it, and I'm just like,
You're like, ugh.
like I want to throw my iPad right now. I'll do this later. I'll take your word for it, Brian. I just wanted to see it for myself.
But even when you check out on Airbnb, can't you have an option to pay with points or not?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'm about to. The next time I book Airbnb, I'm definitely going to go to the Delta portal. So, because
Right.
I'm trying to get my points so we can go to Haiti. Are you guys going to go to Haiti?
Possibly.
Possibly. we
Ain't
still
playing that far.
It's 2017,
Right.
fam. We still trying to get through 2017.
Whatever. We 6 months in, buddy.
I have to catch up.
Don't tell me that until tomorrow.
I'm going to text you that tomorrow. Oh, I'm going to troll you tomorrow. It's so hard. Let's see here. I actually sent my referral to a referral link to Airbnb, and my friend signed up, and I got some money this week.
Hey.
Get
Easy
your money. Get your money.
Actually, because I need to book my
Money.
Colombia, my Cartagena things. I need to go ahead and do that stuff.
So, now that we've discussed points 101, we hope that you are able to decipher the difference between transferable points and redeemable points. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach us. Send us a message on Twitter at Driftr Travels. Let us know what kind of things we can answer for you. All right. So today, Kiara's going to take us to one of our favorite places that Brandon and I just got back from. And I think it's Kiara's too. Take you to Havana, Cuba.
Yes, I'm so excited. So today we're going to travel to Havana, Cuba. And as most people know, before Barack Obama left office, he basically opened up the channels to make it easier for Americans to go to Cuba. So the first thing you need to know, a couple things, are you can now fly to Cuba from the United States on commercial airliners. So JetBlue goes there, American, Southwest, and Spirit Airlines. And Delta goes there. I'm not sure about our friends United, but that's okay. You don't want to go there go there with them anyway. So when you book your flights to Cuba, there are a few kind of like questions that you need to answer to the U.S. government. Uncle Sam wants to know why you're going there. And basically, you have to choose a reason other than tourism to visit Cuba. And some of those options that you have available are for, journalism, education, support for the Cuban people. Let's see here, one second.
It's like 12 of them.
Yeah, hold on one second. I just want to pull it up here. Family visits, official government business, educational activities, religious activities, public performances, and humanitarian projects. Also activities for private foundation, exporting and importing, and then other transactions for between the government for the government. So when you go to buy your ticket with the airline, they're going to ask you what are one of the 12 reasons why you're going to Cuba, and they're going to list those 12 reasons. And if you realize, notice I didn't say tourism. You are not allowed to go to Cuba just to be a tourist. So you got to pick one of those reasons, and when you go there, we highly recommend that you do whatever it is that you say you're going to do. So if you're going to go to support your blog, that's fine. If you're going to go support your church, you can. If you're going to go support, humanitarian aid or support for the Cuban people, just pick that answer on your ticket and you'll be able to pass through. You do need a U.S. Passport to go to Cuba. One of the important things is you do need a Cuban passport to enter Cuba. This is very important. If you don't know where to get a passport from, your airline more than likely will send you an email or will call you to let you know you need the visa, and you can buy the visa from the airline at the airport at the gate. And the general cost for the visa at the gate is about $80 to $85. If you live in the Washington, D.C. area, you can go to the Cuban consulate office on 16th Street and you can purchase a visa for $50 there. One thing to note about the visa, which is really important, the Cuban visa, they don't stamp it or stick it to your passport. They just kind of give you like a piece of paper that's perforated in the middle. As soon as you get into Cuba, they're going to ask you for that visa. Like, that's the number one important thing. They're going to rip one half of the visa off and they're going to give you back the other half. You need that piece of paper to get out of the country, because when you go back to the airport to leave through immigration, the first thing they're going to ask for is the visa and the passport. So make sure you hold on to your visa. So let's just say you've already booked your flight, you got your visa taken care of, you're going to buy it at the gate or the airport. You get to Cuba. Guys, what's the most important thing to know about Cuba when you get there? You need some cash.
Yes, please.
Cash money. Like, please do not go over there and just have just a credit card, because we have seen so many people recently who went over there with nothing but a credit card, and they got SOL'd. Golly, stuck.
Yes. So please note that because of the sanctions for the last 50 years, the Cuban currency system does not support any U.S. credit cards. There are no U.S. ATMs. There are no U.S. banks. There's no PayPal over there. You can't even access Western Union unless you're a citizen, and they will check to make sure you're a citizen. They want to see that passport or whatever documentation you need. So you need to have cash when you go to Cuba. You have to have cash. You can't go there and go to the ATM. You can't go there and use your charge card or your credit card. It will not work.
Right.
So,
Please.
You'll get left. I'm just saying. Like,
you will be stuck at the airport and you will be really upset. So a lot of people have recommended, it is my recommendation, that you take euros to Cuba instead of US dollars. Depending on where you go in Cuba, if you try to exchange US dollars to the foreign currency there, which is the primary currency is the CUC or the CUC, they usually charge like a 10% penalty tax for US dollars, and your rate is, you don't get a better rate compared to the euro. So my bank exchanges money for free, and gave me a pretty good rate for euros. So I just took all euros to Cuba, and when I exchanged my euros to CUCs or CUCs, I got even exchange. So I gave them 100 euros, they gave me 100 CUCs. If I were to do that, I gave them 100 US dollars, they would probably give me 75 CUCs back. So just to kind of give you a comparison of the difference in money that you're going to get. So Havana is a beautiful city. It's a lot of fun. While you're there, there's so many things you can do. You can see the vintage cars. You can do a vintage car tour. You can go to Old Havana, walk around there. You can also do, an Old Havana tour while you're there. A lot of people have done that. You can go and hang out with the Ernest Hemingway bars. You can go to the Florida Hotel where Ernest Hemingway used to hang out, have a few drinks there. You can go to the malecón, which is basically you're on the water on the side of the island, and you could just kind of hang out there. It's a lot of locals out there, and they'll talk with you, and they'll teach you, work with you on your Spanish, and they'll be playing music. They just party in the street, and basically you can do bike tours while you're there, and also you can get some really good Cuban cigars.
Oh
And you can
yes.
also go. There's plenty of cigars everywhere, so everyone smokes cigars. They're really available all over the place. I got my cigars from a farm in Vinales, so you can take a day trip to Vinales, which is the countryside of Havana. Oh, excuse me, the countryside outside of Havana, and out there you can see basically like a prehistoric mural. You can ride horses. You can go to farms, tobacco farms. You can talk to tobacco growers, and they'll show you how to roll actual cigars. You can buy cigars there. The food is really good out there in Vinales. Or if you're more of a beach person like myself, you can head back to Havana and go to Santa Maria Playa, which is the Santa Maria Beach, and that's about 20 minutes outside of the city, and you could probably get there for about 20 kooks for taxi ride, as long as you negotiate the taxis. And you can hang out there for the day, and they have drinks and they have food out there. And let's
Yeah.
see, the nightlife in
Nightlife
Havana,
though.
I'm gonna let Brian and Brandon tell you
Hey.
about that.
Oh man, remember that? What was the museum we went to? They had an art museum.
La Fabrica, something like that.
and they turned it into like a club, most upscale place. It was really nice. The drinks were pretty good. Only thing was the card situation.
The cabs.
Remember the card?
Oh,
Yeah,
the car.
they give you a
Oh,
little card.
Lord.
It's really weird.
I
So
hate
you
that.
usually go to a bar, you start a tab, right? Well, they give you this card, and if you lose the card, that's 30 kooks right there. And so what happens is the card, they instead of starting a tab, they take the card, they stamp your card. When you get to 30 kooks, you have to pay up, and then you can start a new card. So it was kind of confusing. And then one of our friends in our group
Right.
lost their card.
Because you can't leave without the card.
Right. And basically they put you into purgatory if you don't have your card. So
Yeah, so.
don't lose your card.
Right. But it's definitely a fun place. The environment was dope. The music was dope. They had like DJs, live bands. Like, it's all night. So the music changes, but it was lit.
Oh yeah, and then places that we salsa danced to. That one place we went to last night. Yeah, that was really dope.
Hotel 80, Club 80.
Yeah, that was super dope.
Yeah.
People were lots of fun there. Lots of
Yeah,
fun.
they're really, really nice, and they're really, really welcoming. And, it's just like they want to dance and party with you and have a good time. And, they want to talk to you about, how you feel about Cuba and how do you like being in the United States. It's really open. They're really, really nice people. Also, so another thing I want to bring up is the food in Cuba. So depending on who you talk to, you're either going to get two answers. It's not good or it's really, really good. My experience was it was really, really good. We went to a couple different restaurants that had really good food. I got surf and turf, shrimp, lobster for $20, $10. No meal was ever really over $10 or $20, excuse me. Some people like go to Cuba just to go and the local spots and find plates of food for like $2 or $3 US dollars. That food didn't look too appetizing to me, just to be honest. But the $10 plates definitely were good. But some people didn't really like the food. So they said it was bland or it didn't taste good. Brandon. But I think it just depends on where you go, and Brian too. So I mean, I have a couple restaurants that I can like send out to people. If you guys hit me up on the Instagram or Facebook or Drifter feed, just let me know and I can give you a couple of the restaurant names that I went to. But one thing to be wary of is, any of the locals come up to you and try to walk you to a restaurant, definitely just tell them no thank you and just keep walking the other way, because any restaurant that a local wants to take you to, that's just a scam, and the food is not good and it's expensive and they're just scamming you so he can probably get a plate of food there. But other than that, Cuba is a dope place to go with your friends, and you'll have a good time. Just make sure you have enough cash, and make sure that the ladies, you carry some toilet paper with you, because there's not a lot of toilet paper out there. And just bring some good walking shoes and enjoy. Oh, one important thing is Wi-Fi. There's not a lot of Wi-Fi. So When I was there back in December, the only place people could get Wi-Fi was if you bought a Wi-Fi card. It was like 3 kooks for 1 hour, and you basically put in the Wi-Fi code in your phone, and you had to find somewhere with Wi-Fi, like a hotel or a park. And then you'll see when you get to the hotel or park, you see mountains of people just with their heads down on their phone, and that was like the only place they can get internet. But in the last few months, I've been hearing people have Wi-Fi in their Airbnb, but it's kind of spotty. So I would just project to you, just put it in your mind that you can get some Wi-Fi, but it's not going to be readily accessible, and you will have to pay for it, and it's not going to be that good. But my suggestion would be to just put the phone away and get your camera and take a lot of dope photos with all the cars and the people out there.
Man, I enjoyed actually not having access to my phone
Who are you telling?
until 24 hours passed by, and I realized I hadn't talked to my mom, and I walked on the Wi-Fi, and then you get like 16 mom messages. I'm like, oh, she thinks I'm dead. Oh, that's right. I didn't call her. Oh, I didn't have internet. I didn't have access. Why did I not think of that? Like, I totally disconnected.
That was the best part for me.
Right. I was like, yo. And I texted my mom and said, hey, Mom, I'm actually alive. I just can't get none of your messages. So I'll see you when I get back.
Peace.
How easy was it for you to find an internet card? Because I didn't even look for any.
It was easy. I mean, pretty much everywhere we went, there seemed to be three guys, two that looked suspicious, one that looked friendly.
Yeah.
And they were selling these Wi-Fi cards somewhere. So
They give you that look.
they give you that look, and they'd be like, Wi-Fi card? And you'd be like, 3. It'd be done. Even when we walking through the streets, even in Havana, there was like different places, people that were selling Wi-Fi cards. And this is like, I bought one in a different place and then used it somewhere else and had no idea what was going on exactly. So.
And we had like a Wi-Fi port down the street from my Airbnb too.
Okay, yeah. So when I was there, I didn't even ask about Wi-Fi cards. I just wasn't even interested in it. So, but I do know at all the hotels, everyone was standing around with their heads down on their phones, so I knew what was going on there. But yeah,
right. The one place you see people with their heads down, everybody else is talking all across the city.
Yes.
You're like, America needs to learn from this.
yes. Definitely. But I love Havana. I would definitely go back. I would highly recommend it. I would definitely go with some people that love to like just kind of wander around the city and just kind of like go off the beaten path. You know, it's not really like a place where you go and, you know, kind of be stuffy. You go there to have fun and you know, mingle with the locals.
Go now before things change.
Right.
Yes. And I would go ASAP with as much cash as possible.
Cash
That's it.
money.
That's all I have for Cuba.
Shoot. Well, I guess we'll see you there.
Yes.
Part 2, what's up?
All right. So now going into our open discussion topic that revolves every week around something that affects the travel community or just some things that people just want some advice and some other things, information about. And so today we're going to focus the conversation around what are your rights on an overbooked flight? When should you volunteer yourself for an overbooked flight? Heck, what do you just do when you see an overbooked flight? Do you go for it or nah? I don't know about y'all.
I'm gonna let Brandon go first.
I don't know. Nah, I don't have much personal experience with this. It's stuff that I read. I would say don't jump at it first. I read that you might want to wait so you can get more money, but there's certain regulations and some rules behind it. Maybe y'all can touch a little bit more on that.
Well, if you're booted again on a flight that's overbooked, you do get money. And so a lot of times you'll see, or what stories have said is that people will volunteer themselves to be off of a flight. They like volunteer to get booked or taken off of a flight, which, okay, when they're handing out vouchers that say it's like $300, people are like, ooh. But then once you know the federal law, you're like, maybe not. So if flyers get to a final stop 1 or 2 hours late, airlines are required to pay double the original one-way fare with a $675 limit. If flyers get into more than 2 hours late, or 4 for international flights, airlines have to pay 400% of the one-way fare with a $1,350 limit. So it could really be up the title up to $1,350 if you're, 4 hours late. Plus, they also will give you sometimes like a hotel, or they give you like a buffet or something like that. So, I mean, if I'm going to miss my flight, I'm hoping that I'm going to be 4 hours late. 2 hours late domestically, 4 hours late internationally, just so I can get, the maximum money I can get. But I think the other thing that it also changes to is, remember, this is cash money. So they pay in cash. And you don't have to take a voucher, according to the law. Now, some of these airlines have upped their policies, like Delta has now awarded where you can get up to $9,000.
Woo.
9,000. 9,000.
I
Who
need
needs
that.
to pay tuition this semester?
I need that in my life.
Right? I just need that in my life in general. I'm not even a college student. But, you could, what you could do with $9,000? Shoot. Go to Cuba.
Look, go to Cuba 9 times.
Right? 9 times. Come on now. But, and then United up their numbers up to somewhere across 9,000 too. So
United ain't giving nobody $9,000.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest here.
United's giving people PR
They're giving
situations.
them 900. They're giving them 90 cents. That's what they're giving people.
Well, knowing that like these airlines are wanting to stay away from a PR nightmare like the guy who got drugged in the United Airlines debacle, you know that these airlines are willing to pay a little bit more if it can save them. So, I mean, I haven't gotten to one of these situations either, Kira or Brandon, but hell, if I get into a flight and they start asking people to volunteer, I'm going to tell everybody to chill.
Right.
That's going to be Brandon.
I'm going to be like, don't take it. It's a wolf ticket. Don't take it. And then I'm going to be the one, when they start saying $3,000, like, yeah, that's me. And they'll be mad at me. I'm like, well, I knew my rights.
So basically, you want to hold off in the beginning.
Yeah.
Don't go for the $100, $200.
Remember, you got to think about your rights. Don't think with your pocket. $100 is a lot to me. So is 9,000.
Right.
9,000 sounds like a winner to me. Yeah. So, my problem with that is a lot of times when I'm traveling, like I need to be back home or be back at a certain destination by a certain time. I'm not just most of the time traveling just, leisurely where I have an extra day or 2 or hours to get somewhere. So that's always scary to me. But I've been lucky, knock on wood, to not really have to, not get booked off any flights.
Just don't fly United and you'll be okay.
Yeah. Because I'm always that extra person where I'm like, I got to get here by this time because I got to catch this train so I can get here. So, yeah.
Would $9,000 help that?
Right. Questions that need answers.
I mean, $9,000, I will miss the trip. But how long I got to sit out before they offer me $9,000?
That's a good question.
And how many people I got to fight to get that $9,000?
A whole bunch of people. Not really. Just tell everybody, just don't don't volunteer.
So Brian's gonna be the one in the airport, like, shh. Everybody lock arms.
Nobody.
We locking arms.
I'm just gonna tell everybody. I'm gonna turn around and say, I'm gonna lead y'all to success. If you want to go to success, come with me.
Okay, so let's say you're in the airport, right? And they're like, we need volunteers. So are we just getting on the website to find out, what this particular airline, what their amounts are? Because I have no idea. Like, I couldn't tell you at the top of my head. That's a Brian skill that I don't have.
Yeah, only because I did research for the podcast.
Where do you find that information to find out what, how much each particular airline offers?
The news, there are a lot of travel articles that kind of post these things, and we'll make sure to post stuff to Driftr Travels too, that will have more information about this and cover it in further topics. But you can find a lot of stuff either from the transportation's website, transportation.gov. You can find stuff from usually like a US News or CNN or something like that, NBC, because they've covered this since it's been a recent issue. And then also anything that happens in the world, we love to publicize and stuff like that for it. So It's going to be somewhere across the internet. Usually, all you have to look is overbooked flights, airline name. Boom, you're going to find the information. But just in case, like, if that happens to me or happens to you, pull out your smartphone, connect to the Wi-Fi if you need to. Go do a quick Google search. Then tell everybody to not move. You got to tell people, look, I'm going to lead you to success. You say, first they're going to say $200. Then they're going to say $300 and $400. If you want to get to $700, follow me to the prize. And then you're going to look like a god because god or goddess because you actually knew they're going to $700. Then you'd be like, but wait, tell them everybody else, wait, hold up, there's more. They're going to start asking for more money. When they start getting that $3,000 range, I mean, I would love to hold out to $9,000, but then after I've lead the troops, at that point, I would just be like, okay, I'm about to take this money and leave everybody else.
So what happens if nobody volunteers?
Right.
So
Importante.
Does the airline have the right to handpick who they want off the plane?
They sure do. As a matter of fact, on federal law, you're actually in the wrong if you don't follow orders from the airline, and they can pull a security marshal or air marshal to come pull you off of a flight legally. So you're not really that protected. But you got to keep that in mind. You're really playing the balance game between trying to get the voucher and trying not to also be dragged off of a flight and being pulled into court.
So you got to have some good negotiation skills, basically.
Yeah. And convince people around you not to take the easy money. Because that's what airlines want you to do. And we're here to teach you how to not do that.
And
I'm just hoping it doesn't happen to me ever.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna come get me from jail if I start going crazy in the airport? Because I got $99 instead of $9,000.
If you took it at 99, you weren't listening to the podcast.
Oh my goodness! Right, exactly. No. Well, what? Okay, so if they remove you from the flight, they're giving you a good amount of money.
If they remove you out the flight, they're rebooking you on something else.
Yeah.
Basically.
And I'm burning down the airport at that point. We're gonna have some problems.
They might give you a food voucher or something.
Right.
No stinky food voucher. What I look like?
Yeah, the process is you get a volunteer first, and then you go. If you don't get a volunteer after a certain amount, they start picking random victims. So you don't want to be at that point. That's why I'm like, even though I know 3,000 is, I know 9,000 is the number. My number is going to be 3, because at that point they're going to start looking at people crazy. Like, all right, we're going to start pulling people off flights. Mm-hmm. So, like Brandon said, good negotiation skills. But it really comes down to it. The practice of overbooking flights is so that they can get their claim, so that they can get prices cheaper on airlines. So the whole point of overbooking is that they know statistically, based on some type of averages or historicals, that every year around this time, 15% of people do not make their flight despite buying a ticket. So imagine if your ticket went up 15%. Well, you and I would not be flying as much because that's already expensive, or we'd be using the miles and points that we learned from our transferable miles or our redeemable miles and points, so we could cover costs. But 15% on a flight, flight's already expensive. Yeah, 15% of that cost, that gets really expensive. Let that be your flight out the country, and that's a whole nother story.
Right.
So the benefit of having overbooked flights really benefits you. You just have to learn how to game it. Everything's about what's your strategy, what's your plan. So don't get mad exactly of the fact that overbooking happens. Just do things that can help give you preventative maintenance. For instance, airline status helps sometimes when it comes to not getting you kicked off of flights. Another thing that's important is when you check in. So when you get the 24-hour check-in window, if you're checking in the last hour, you might be on the first person on the hit list to leave. So that's something else that you would keep in mind. So if you're trying to avoid the whole overbooking thing, be one of the first people to check in. If you care about status, because I have mixed feelings about airline status now after experiencing it, go for airline status and go with an airline that hopefully that you have status with, because that protects you from your seat. But,
Right.
but at the same time, I'm trying to get that check. So I want to be the person because I can sleep in the airport. I've done that in DC. So
Oh, you don't have to do that. You can call me. You can come stay while we're here.
I know I flew in at 12 p.m. and 12 a.m. Slept in the airport till 7 a.m. Caught my flight. Was at work for 9.
I see.
Yeah. Travel warrior stories.
Right, but the airport sleep can be pretty good sometimes.
Airport sleep can be good if you find the right chair.
Yeah, that's the key.
You
And
better go in that lounge. Get that long chair.
Oh shoot, a lot of them closed from like 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. So you have to wait. And I waited, and then I came, and I went to sleep in that chair, knocked out.
Gotcha. Interesting. Well, I'm gonna keep praying that doesn't happen to me. I ain't got time to be messing up my schedule.
Ain't nobody got time for that. All right. Well, hey, this wraps up another episode of the Driftr Podcast with your co-host Brian Fontenot,
Brandon Boone,
And Kiera Sandoval.
I'm about to say, is she there or not?
I'm here.
she texting that boo thing.
Right?
Not at all.
But today we covered on how much do you tip when you be traveling domestically or internationally. We made sure to talk about the points 101, difference between transferable points and redeemable points. We took you to one of our favorite places that we've all traveled to, Havana, Cuba. Is it Havana or Havana? I be spelling
Havana.
Havana, Cuba, like would it be?
Yeah.
I
Cuba.
butcher anything.
Havana, Cuba.
Havana, Cuba.
Yes.
And last but not least, we covered your rights for overbooking flights. Make sure if you haven't already, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your boo things, tell your non-boo things, tell your enemies, tell your mayor about the Driftr Podcast. Let people know. We want to teach you how to travel. We want to make sure that you can travel the world, see as beautiful things as possible, hopefully as cheaply as possible too, so you're not having to outlay all your cash on travel. If you haven't already, make sure to follow Driftr Travels on Twitter and make sure to also follow on Instagram. You can see all of our different accounts, connect with us personally, and also join the Driftr Travels community. We want to have you in there. We want to talk about travel. We want to help you to be able to reach all of your travel goals. You can find out how to join Driftr by going to signup.driftertravels.com. Fill out the form, and we'll send you an invite. Until next time, my friends, travel far, travel wide, travel deep, and most importantly, book the ticket.
Book the tickets. Talk to you guys next week.